And today we're talking about position shifting. Yay. In the lesson Economy of Motion, you saw that I was explaining how to go about playing all over the neck and getting, from a low position all the way up to a high position, covering a lot of ground with very little work, which is always a good thing, right? Well, the concept that I use in that is position shifting, and so we're taking a deeper look into that. More specifically, we're going to take a look at it with a scale. First, in kind of the boring way that people can't stand. Nobody likes scales, let's be honest. So let's get the boring part out of the way first, and I'll show you a fun way to practice your scales. But position shifting is just simply that. You're shifting from one position to the next. Well, what's a position? It's a section on the neck. It's 4 frets. So when you're playing your notes, if I'm starting with G like that, I'm in second position because that's the lowest fret that I'm accessing when I play this scale. I just shifted up to 4th position, so that's a position. All right, that's what we mean by that. What's going to happen in this scale is, anytime you're trying to cover a scale and cover a lot of ground, it forces you. You're changing direction on the neck. You're not just playing in just kind of one area. You're going all over the place, and so that really forces your hand to move and shift. And so let's take a look at this. This is a G major scale in 3 octaves. And by the way, if you don't know your scales in 3 octaves, you need to learn that in 3 octaves. Every scale in 3 octaves. Sometimes you can play them in 4, but if you can do it in 3, that's good. Going from the lowest possible note that you can, in this case G, the lowest G up to the highest G that we can get, which is right there or right there. And so that covers 3 octaves. That's the typical range of a guitar, but again, sometimes 4. All right, so here's that G major. Yeah. All right, so what did I do there in that very exciting display of musicianship? I know it's boring, but again, you got to get the grunt work in. The more you practice something like this, just do it over and over and over again until you can do it in your sleep. Then your improv is going to be much better because then you're not thinking about, oh, what note do I play next? You've already got it in your subconscious, and that's why you do this boring stuff. But let's talk about what this did. Again, learning the scale in 3 octaves, it's going to require a lot of movement. When you're shifting positions, how do you determine what finger to use? General rule of thumb is when you're shifting, in this case, our first shift is right there, just a simple little shift. I picked the pinky to shift up because these notes, B, C, and D, those notes, the 3, 4, and 5th notes of the sequence, they're all within reach. They're all within this 4 fret region of the neck, this position. So I take care of those notes first, and then whatever note is next in the sequence, that's when I'll shift, use the pinky. And sometimes when you go back down, use the pinky. Sometimes you won't. Now next, we're gonna have the same. We're gonna have the same little shift. However, we're doing a major position shift here on the D string. Totally resetting the fingers. Not doing a slide, just doing a total position change from the 4th position all the way up to the 9th. And so the D string in this particular example is a very popular string. We've got 6 notes on that one string. All right, so when you have that many notes on one string, typically you're playing 3 notes per position. And so we're splitting up the work there from 4th position with those 3 notes, and then completely resetting the fingers and continuing up the scale. All right, so I'll have the tab for that on the website that you can check out. And pay attention to the fingering that I'll have on the underneath the tab. They are the little numbers with circles around them. Those are these fingers. All right. There's going to be another one on there, position shift on the G string. So you could try those because there are many paths from octave number 1 all the way up to octave number 3. Rather from root to octave 1 to octave 2 to octave 3. A lot of paths that you can take to get there. All right, so those are just a couple. Try out some more if you want to. So that's the boring part out of the way. Let's take a look at how to practice this in a musical context. Here's how I like to practice these scales. Is the pedal point exercise. I'm not using a backing track. I'm not playing along with a CD or anything. It's just me and the guitar. A pedal point is this example is going to be in E major. The pedal point is going to be the E. I'm going to pick it, I'm going to let it ring, and then I'm going to play some notes out of the scale. Stop, and then hit the E again. And I'm really trying to cover a lot of ground. Now, when I started doing this, I did this a lot to learn my modes and all the other scales involved in that. So I would play in E major, then I would go to E Dorian, and then E Lydian, and so on, so on, so on. Just everything in E, just so I cover a lot of ground. Then I tried a lot in G. Of course, I can't really let anything ring. I would just play a G, a chord like that, and play. I really had fun doing that with delay, because then everything rings out a little more. So that was a lot of fun. But I started doing the pedal point exercises after I had a complete understanding of how the scales worked. I already knew where all of the notes were on the neck. I was just using the pedal point exercise as a creative way to put these notes in a musical context. Stay away from this kind of thing. You're not practicing your scale with this. You don't want to do it like that. You're practicing putting a scale into music. How many times have you ever heard a solo where somebody was going? You don't hear that. It's just maybe in a country song, but but no, you want to get away from that scalar sound and get to something a little more musical, something that you can listen to. All right, so try the pedal point exercise, but again, do the grunt work and learn the scale first. I know that's boring, but you got to do it. It's part of the gig, man. All right, I'll see you next week.